Good morning everyone. I am Sweza Singh, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmacy, BBT University, Lucknow. Today I am going to give a presentation on the topic investigational use of drugs. What is the investigational use of drugs? Investigational use of drugs are those compounds which have not been released by the Federal Food and Drug Administration for their general distribution and uses. An investigational drug can also be called an experimental drug and is being studied to see if your disease or medical conditions improves while taking it. Scientists are still trying to prove in clinical trials if the drug is safe and effective, how the drug might be used in that disease, how much of the drug is needed, and the information about the potential benefits and risk of taking the drug. Each hospital established a committee on human use in the research risk and potential medical benefits of the investigation, rights and welfare of individuals involved, informed consent of the Food Drug Administration and amendments of 1966. Basic principles of American Society of Health System Pharmacists guidelines for the use of investigational drug policies and procedures for the safe use of drugs. Institution must assure studies contain the proper safeguard for itself, their staff, and specialty for their patients. Classes of investigational use of drugs. One simple classification which can be adapted to any hospital research program is to categorize in different four classes: Class A, Class B, Class C and Class D. In the Class A should contain all the investigational use of drugs that are in a preliminary experimental stage. The use of drugs in this category is usually restricted to the principal investigator. Now in Class B should consist of investigational use of drugs which have passed through the preliminary research stage. Usually drugs in this category are supplied to the Department of Pharmacy by the principal investigator and are dispensed only upon his written prescription. In Class C is limited to drugs approved by the USP/NF or passed by the Federal Food Drug Administration for the commercial distribution. Drugs in this category may be used within the hospital or its clinic if the physician complies with some specific procedures. In Class D are drugs preparations which have been accepted for use in the hospital and are listed in the hospital formulary. Another simple classification which can be adapted to any hospital pharmacy operation. First one is general. In general, an FDA approved drug which is recommended as essential for good patient care with a well established uses, once accepted, may be prescribed by all the members of attending and house staff. Second one, conditional. In this, certain drugs may be approved for a conditional period of trial. A drug approved by the FDA for general use, but which the committee wishes to evaluate for given period before the final consideration, may be prescribed by all the members of the attending and house staff. Third one, investigational, in which drugs which are not approved by the Food and Drug Administration for use other than under controlled clinical settings must be approved by the Research Advisory Committee. A protocol of any study involving drugs must be submitted to the pharmacy. Control and identification of investigational use of drugs. All the investigational drugs should be registered with the Pharmacy and Therapeutic Committee. The copy of research protocols should be kept in pharmacy after its approval from Institutional Review Committee, and prepare the investigational drug data sheet. All the investigational drugs should be registered with the Pharmacy and Therapeutic Committee. This may be accomplished by a letter from the principal investigator which provides the following information: pharmacology, toxicology, dose range, method of administration, antidote of drug, therapeutic use, new drug number, generic name, manufacturer, chemical name of drug, proprietary name, and general chemistry of drugs. Whenever come to identification of investigational use of drugs, Class A or Class B drugs are dispensed from the pharmacy. They should be labeled in such a manner as to differentiate them from the routine prescription drugs. In some hospitals, investigational use of drugs labels are printed in red ink on white paper stock. Role of Advisory Committee. The Generic Drug Advisory Committee is to advise on the safety and effectiveness of human generic drug products for use in the treating a broad spectrum of human diseases. The Drug Abuse Advisory Committee, with a broad charge, advises the Food Drug Administration Commissioner on the scientific and medical evaluation of all the information. The FDA regulates more than 150,000 marketed drugs and medical devices. At any time, nearly 3,000 investigational new drugs are being developed. The main role of advisory committee to advise the Commissioner of Food and Drugs on risk management, risk communication, and quantitative evaluation of spontaneous reports for drugs for the human use and for any other product for which the Food and Drug Administration has regulatory responsibility. The FDA Investigational New Drug Program. An investigational new drug application is a request from a clinical study sponsored to obtain the authorization from the FDA to administer an investigational drug or biological product to the humans. Unless exempted, clinical sponsors must obtain the Food and Drug Administration authorization in the US before performing a clinical trial and administering an investigational drug or biological product to patients. All centers for biologic evaluation and research regulated products are covered by the FDA Investigational New Drug Program. Such authorization must be secured prior to interstate shipment and administration of any new drug or biological product that is not the subject of an approved new drug application or biologics product license application. All clinical studies must follow specific and strict laws and regulations to ensure the safety and well-being of human subjects who participate in them. The United States Food and Drug Administration Investigational New Drug Program is the means by which a pharmaceutical company obtains permission to start human clinical trials and to ship an experimental drug across state lines, usually to clinical investigator, before a marketing application for the drug has been approved. Regulations are primarily at 21 CFR 312. Similar procedures are followed in the European Union, Japan, and Canada. Authorization from the FDA must be secured before interstate shipment and administration of investigational new drugs. Access to investigational new drugs can be granted on a compassionate basis if the patient has a serious disease or condition which has no clinical trials designed to develop drugs or treatments for it. Approval can be granted by the FDA. Licensed physicians can apply if they feel that the benefit of an investigational new drug outweigh the risk of using an unproven treatment. Role of hospital pharmacist in investigational use of drug. The pharmacist is responsible to the institution and the principal investigator for seeing that procedure for the control of investigational drug as developed and implemented. Suggestion to accomplish this are as a copy of the approved research protocol should be kept in the pharmacy. Using the protocol and additional information supplied by the principal investigator, the pharmacy should prepare an investigational drug data sheet which concisely summarizes for the medical, nursing, and pharmacy staff's information pertinent to use of drugs, and this form should contain the drug designation and common synonyms, dosage form and their strength, usual dosage range including route of administration, indication, expected therapeutic effect, toxicities, and their treatment. Also play a role in assisting in the development of study design, acting as an impartial collaborator, collecting, storing, and distributing essential information concerning the drug being studied, packing and labeling the investigational drugs in the multiple or unit dose containers, also preparing the dosage form, and dispensing of investigational drugs to both the inpatient and outpatient. Thank you.